Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this recap episode of Flow Over Fear, where I'm going to talk about my interview with Mike Ergo. And it was a very, very powerful interview. Mike shared a lot about his experience serving in Iraq during the Battle of Fallujah, where it was the bloodiest battle since Vietnam. And I personally watched that battle from the comfort of my couch, as many of us did. And, we were shocked and horrified by what we saw. And Mike was living it at that time. And he explained how in that battle, he experienced multiple near-death experiences where he nearly died and was surprised at the end of each day when he lived to see another day, to the extent that he didn't think that he would be coming home from the war and had to relearn how to adapt to this new life after war. Mike lost a lot of brothers during that battle. And today he carries the names of those brothers on the back of his triathlon jersey as he races for the Gold Star Initiative, where he also carries a flag, a large American flag, with him throughout the marathon. That American flag is handed to him by a Gold Star family, a family that has lost a son or daughter to war. And it is handed back to that Gold Star family at the end of the marathon. So throughout the entire 26 miles of the race, Mike will carry the flag on behalf of one of those fallen brothers. I'm inspired by Mike's story, just as I'm inspired by a lot of veteran stories. And it's fitting that this is the second consecutive interview I've had with a veteran. Last week, in the last interview, I had Eric Beach on the show, and these were powerful interviews, and they get me thinking. And it's fitting that I had these two interviews back to back, because just around Veterans Day, because this is a time of the year where, honestly, I feel a bit, I feel uncertain about the best way to acknowledge and appreciate our veterans. I know that there's because there is the grateful, thank you for your service, or the Facebook post with a picture of a veteran and we salute you kind of things like that. And I don't want to just play lip service to the appreciation that I have for a lot of these people, and especially for people like Mike and Eric and really anybody who served, that I'm inspired by. And I'm not just inspired by these folks because they've been willing to do something that I've never been willing, or I was never willing to do when I was at that age, which was go to war, to fight for the country, to fight for humanity, to put my life on the line, to do something that was so terrifying. I'm inspired by that, but I'm more inspired by the fact that they've overcome so much tragedy. They've transcended, they've triumphed in their later life. So now they're serving in the world in a more powerful, mission-driven way. For Mike, that means carrying the flag for his fallen brothers during the race, and during a race, and bringing awareness to Gold Star families. And this was something powerful that he conveyed to me, because it's something that, as I mentioned, I struggle with trying to convey my appreciation, and he helped bring home some points that I think many of us can learn from, on how we can show our appreciation, show our heartfelt appreciation, and show our heartfelt support. For one, he mentioned that a lot of these Gold Star families, a lot of these families that have lost a son or daughter during a war, as tragic as that is, they get the support system from their community up to and until the funeral. And after that, sadly, that support system is no more because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to support. And by no fault of their own, it's something that those Gold Star families are left feeling alone or abandoned. And that's one of the great tragedies of war that we may not know about, that we don't know about, that I didn't know about until I talked to Mike. And so it's powerful that when we talk about supporting our veterans and supporting our troops, or thanking people for their service, especially around Veterans Day, are we doing the things to support the families? Are we reaching out, and are we genuinely being heartfelt about that? And in that interview, Mike gave a great perspective on what we should say, because it's not necessarily just about the platitudes or the thank you for your service, but it's more of a heartfelt of is it in our heart that we want to support? And he said 4 powerful words that to me really resonated about what I can say to veterans that I care about. I'm glad you're here. And those 4 words are so powerful. And the reason that they're powerful to me is because it truly represents how I feel. And I've never been able to convey it so simply as those 4 words. Because when I talk with Eric or when I talk with Mike, I think of where they could have been. You know, it's so likely it's it's a roll of the dice on whether they didn't make it here at all, where they may have been killed by an enemy, or not even the enemy at all, but maybe lost their lives when they came home because they lost their lives to PTSD or something other, or some other tragedy that's associated with their service. I'm glad you're here. It conveys this message that we're not only grateful, but genuinely glad that they've chosen and are able to be with us today. That we are graced with their ability to still be here. So that was a powerful message, and it's something that I feel very heartfelt to all of my veteran friends who may be listening. I just want to say that I truly am glad you're here. Mike also had a lot to say about the idea of love and love's place in war. Um, when I saw Mike finishing at the Ironman World Championship, I'd mentioned to him that I felt that his presence was bigger than it really was. And the reason that that was the case was because he was carrying the 29 brothers that he had on listed on his back. He was carrying them with him. They were there with him. They were running through the marathon with him. They were giving him strength. And it gets back to this idea of love, of the power of love, because love transcends death. That's something he said that was powerful. And that was powerful because through all the feelings that we might have, even during an Ironman, even in the midst of war, we may feel fear, we may feel pain, we may feel fatigue, we may feel like our legs are on fire, or we may feel the absolute terror and sadness. But love exists within all of that. And the connectedness that we feel with our community at that point is so powerful. And that's one of the great messages that Mike was sharing. Love transcends death, even in war. And it also is greater than fear. And one of the things that we can do to support our Gold Star families that Mike had conveyed, because they don't feel they have that sense of community. And one of the things that the Gold Star Initiative provides, and the Ironman community and triathlon community provides, is that sense of community. So I would urge people who are looking for ways to support our troops, to support our veterans. Also look for ways to support the families through community, through providing community and fellowship, because that's something that is often lost after the funeral. Now, in Mike's experience, he talked about some of that connectedness that he was able to find. And it was in those near-death experiences, one in particular, where he felt that this was the end, where bullets were whizzing by his neck. He could feel the heat of the bullets. And as that happened, he said that time slowed down, time had stopped, and he began to feel every cell in his body. And as he did that, he also began to feel maybe even dissociated from himself and more connected with those around him, so that he no longer feared death. And he made this distinction that he no longer feared death. He still had fear, obviously, of the process of dying, but no longer feared death, and even to this day does not fear death. But even amidst all of that hate, all of the battle, the torment of war, he felt that connectedness. And so he realized at that point that there was something powerful, something larger at work, whether it be a God, the universe, or some higher power. And that was powerful to me, because through recovery and my own recovery and sobriety, I had that same realization that once we surrender to something that we are powerless over, in Mike's instance, it was the possibility of death. He surrendered to it absolutely. For me, it was alcoholism at that moment. And I surrendered myself to that fact that I was powerless over it absolutely. It was at that point that it opened up my mind and my heart to a higher power. And that higher power it doesn't have to be a God, but that there is something larger at work. And I know that a lot of people may struggle with that. And I get it. I struggled with it too. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with it. But that is at least an anecdotal reality for Mike, is that when he experienced that reality of death, he experienced a peace that he never had before. And it was something that told him that there was something larger at work. And it relates to one of the overarching themes of this interview, which came, at that point during those near-death experiences, at the points where, where he was racing in an Ironman, and feeling the pain and feeling the moments and feeling his brothers with him. It's this idea of acceptance, of presence, of being present. Because when he was in the present, he was able to have a level of acceptance and a level of peace that transcended fear. And it ultimately led to, that feeling of love. And Mike said something powerful during this interview. He said, acceptance is not agreement, meaning we don't have to agree with it. We simply, the world as it is we can go around fighting all of this stuff that is outside of our control. And we're fighting it because we disagree with it. It shouldn't be happening. War shouldn't be happening. Fighting shouldn't be happening. The other side shouldn't be doing this. But when we accept, we're not agreeing. We're just accepting things that are outside of our control. And when we're able to do that, that opens up our hearts to finally see the things that we can control. And when we can focus obsessively on the things we can control, we can experience growth. This takes courage, not just in the heat of battle, but in the heat of our minds. That was a powerful part of the conversation that we had with Mike. And he'd even mentioned that courage is not the absence of fear. It is walking forward despite the fear. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to this episode yet, I would encourage you to do so because it's a really powerful interview. Mike's story is incredibly powerful. He talks a lot about his experiences in fighting in wars that people like me can never understand. And he talks about how we, those of us who can't understand that and haven't lived it, can better support or love or show gratitude to those that have, and to the families of those that have. And Mike continues to support that message through the Gold Star Initiative, which you too can support by going to the Ironman Foundation and looking up the Gold Star Initiative and finding out how you can support it. If you're a veteran, you can actually race with the flag. If you sign up to race with the flag on behalf of a Gold Star family. If you are a Gold Star family, I would you can go and actually apply to be one of the Gold Star families and have somebody race in your son or daughter's honor. Um, in the meantime, please look for what Mike is doing. Mike Ergo is an incredible human being. He is doing a lot of good in the world. And also look up the Ironman Foundation and look up the Gold Star Initiative. You can find Mike racing in Kona in 2023. That's next October, for Nick Anderson, who for the family of Nick Anderson, who passed away, and they are a Gold Star family. So stay tuned for that and watch what Mike's doing. He's an incredible guy. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching this recap episode of Flow Over Fear. We'll catch you next time.